Welcome to the Briefly demo. My name is Sam DeRager. Briefly is really a product out of my own frustration with managing different projects from personal to client-side projects. I wanted things in one place. I didn't need it to be all-encompassing. I didn't need all of the bells and whistles. I really just wanted a straightforward place to take notes, produce a roadmap, manage some cards and some to-dos, and then write some briefs, whether those briefs were for the product I was building to kind of coalesce my thoughts, or if it was for a client that I wanted to share with potentially a budget attached to it. So for me, Briefly has been, for the last 6 months, a partner in crime as I've worked on different projects as a consultant. So today we're just going to go top level, kind of look at the product as a whole, dive into some different areas, and hopefully give you a pretty roundabout glimpse at what Briefly is all about. So as you can see, I'm already logged in. I'm going to go to my projects. I have 4 projects out of my 6 in this pro account. So again, trying to keep it very lightweight for the user. Want to make sure we're archiving things and moving things around. I'm not going to jump into the ones I've already created. We're actually going to build a new project today. So today we're going to work on artificially intelligent conversations and a really fun project that I've been working on with a friend of mine. And hopefully we can get this kicked off with a little organization. Do you have a primary color? I'm going to add that here, leave the secondary color, and then create the project. All right, now that my project's created, you'll see the dashboard that you land on. Here are all the projects in my queue. As you can see, artificial is highlighted, but the 5 of my 6 are there. I can go to all projects with these 3 dots. Just a quick overview of your navigation here is when you land on this page. Right here is your notifications. Here's where I'm going to be notified of different things, whether I'm mentioned in a meeting note, whether I'm added to a card, mentioned in a roadmap. That's where you'll get your notifications and you'll be able to mark them as read. Here's where you'll manage your profile. This is your individual profile. Add push notifications that'll work on your desktop as well. And then ultimately you can manage, if you're the owner of the account, manage the account. And this is where you'll manage, here I'm an admin, but you'll manage your pro level, free level tiers here, potentially upgrade if you need to, your business workspace logo, business name, again, the primary color of your workspace, and the different projects that you have. You'll also see all projects to head you back, and then you can switch projects here. And then, of course, I'll have the admin panel. You won't, as the admin. But here on the left then is the actual project management side of things. So you'll see your project settings here, where you can begin to give it a little bit more description. And I'm going to say exist to push forward the possibility AI in many types of industries. Okay, and then I'm going to upload a logo here. We'll use this one for now. That'll save that. You got our primary and secondary colors, save all my changes. And now if I go back to the project dashboard, you'll see that this has been uploaded with the logo. All right, so then let's look on the left side a little bit more. We've got our project team. This is where you can invite clients and team members to the project. Again, very easy, just to add their email, choose either teammate or client, or make them an admin if you'd like, and invite them to the project. Then also, this is the link where they log in. They will always, no matter what project they're on, they'll always log in at your baseline workspace. So we will direct them to the project. If they're only on a few projects, we will direct them to the ones they need to be on. And then here is your, again, your dashboard. Really quickly, maybe we just go through each of these, right? So let's create a quick roadmap. This roadmap title is going to be, I'm going to call it 2026, Kickstart the Project Roadmap in 2026. So we'll create that roadmap. Then if I jump into the roadmap, you'll see the roadmap is broken out into now, next, and future. Really just 3 different areas, and then complete if you complete a project. We don't want to be too detailed, right? We don't want to be too detailed in a roadmap. This is something that you could bring to an executive meeting. If you're working with a client, you can say, here are the things we're working on now. Here's what we think we'll work on next. Probably need to prioritize these. And then here's what we have in the future, the ideas that we have that we might want to tackle. And so if I was going to add a project, very simply come in here and I can enter the project title, and we're going to call this one podcast. The short summary is get the podcast going. Okay, why are we doing it? We want some objectives here. Really, it's acquisition, getting a lot more people engaged and acquired in the artificially intelligent conversation ecosystem. So we can add more detail here if you wanted to. In fact, I could even pull that from a project document that I have as well. So I can come into Figma here and even pull the stuff that we've already written about the podcast, right? And so again, like very, very simply, you could write it yourself or you can bring things in as you see it. So right here, this is the artificially intelligent conversations. I'll just pull this whole thing, come into here, add that description. I'm going to be the owner of that, so I'll pick myself. It's pretty small. We've got everything set up already. We just need to get it kicked off, and so we're going to call it a teaser size small. Again, time horizon is now. And then if I had a brief, I could add a brief link to it. I do have a Figma that has a little bit more information, so I will add the Figma to that. So I'm going to copy the link and add the Figma link here. All right, so let's add the project. There it is. I'm the owner. Here's your Figma link. Here's the stuff we need to know. Here's the read-only part of it. And then if you wanted to edit it, you came in here. All right, so that's a roadmap item. I can now move that around if I wanted to. I could move it to the different places. But for now, right, that is your full roadmap management. So, other things that we have to do some more table conversations. And we're doing an event, so I put the event in next because there's a lot of planning that needs to go there to make sure we're doing that right. And then now I might add the table conversations because those are a pretty easy invite to get 10 people around a table. So that's how I would manage this roadmap. Future, I might have different ideas like merchandising. I might have Q2 event, Q3 event, Q4 event, each with their own roadmap items that might have things we have to do and want to check off from those events. All right, and that is roadmaps in briefly. All right, let's demo card trackers. Card tracker is like a Trello board. For right now, let's just so we can get it started, I'm just going to do something simple like the artificially website. So I'm going to call it website. That's the URL slug, brief description, build out a React Fight website hosted on Firebase GCP. All right. Color palette. I really like this kind of hushed, subtle pastel. You have a few choices to pick some that are a little bit more bold. This is your card color. And then platform. So we're going to call this web, call that social. Maybe I'll abbreviate that because I have a limit there. And then add type here. This is the type of card. So you've got bug, feature, story. I might want to say page. I might even want to add idea and put it in the backlog. And then I'm going to create my tracker. So now that my tracker is created, I can now jump into it. Again, very simple card tracker. Don't want it to be too complicated. Backlog, in progress, review, done. There's not a chance to add more columns. It's really meant to be utilized by a small team that doesn't need nuanced reporting on whether it's in QA, how long it's been in QA. We're here for delivery. So it's either in the backlog or it's in progress or working on it, or it's in review and then it's done here. We do have some platform settings where you can add more platforms in there. You can delete the tracker as well. And then here's your color palettes if you wanted to change out the color palettes. And so if I go into the card creation, this is very simply let's start something that needs to be done today. So that would be spin up Firebase environment, auth, hosting, Firestore, database or storage, DB, what else? That's good for now. Platform, website, type, it is a feature. Actually, it is let's call that a user story. Priority, I'm pretty critical. We got to get that done. I'm going to assign myself that. I'm going to put a little deadline on myself to get that done by, let's make that a little more aggressive, by Wednesday. It's in the backlog right now. Links. So yeah, I want some links to this one. I'm going to add the Figma link that we already kind of looked at. Make sure I have that in my, but we can add more links if we wanted to. We could link back to the brief if we wanted to. And then images. No images for today. We'll save that card. And now I have that card. I can move that into progress when I start it. I can move it into review, move it into done. If I want to say, oh, I moved something into done, I just got to click that back and move it into a different part of it. So that is card tracker. You could also assign different people on it. Once that card is made, now you have the chance to comment on it. And so if there was somebody else on the project, I could say, hey, Sam, click that. I need to get you your API keys. And I can post that comment, and then that person would be notified in notifications. So you could have back and forth on the comments. You could add images if you went to edit. Again, just a place that you could talk about and work through different cards for your project. Really want to stay agile here again. We don't want a ton of things mucking this up. We just want to get quickly through from backlog to delivery within this card stacker. There you go. As you can see, you can even comment yourself, and then it'll open up to the card stacker, and then you can find that card. Once you've read it, it goes be marked as read, and they can delete that notification as well. And that's a card tracker. But let's start with a product brief and show you exactly how I would create one in this day and age when I'm using AI a lot, right? I'm using AI to build things, to create briefs, to create websites. And so I want to have a lot of opportunity to create a brief, whether I want to do that with a template where I'm writing everything and putting all the images in here, or if I am going to create that with Markdown or with HTML. And so the brief, again, is pretty interesting because for me as a product owner, I really want to be able to communicate the what and the why. I want to say this is what we're building and why we're building it. And that's what the brief gives us. That template walks you through this: purpose and context, target audience, images, goals, success metrics, KPIs, risks, timelines, budgets. So you could use this as a straight proposal as well. And I have, and I'll show you how you can create public links for each of the briefs a little bit later. But first, we're just going to go through what this might look like working with your AI to build a Markdown file that then shows up here. And so I already have a little information that I'm going to pull into my AI of note. So I'm going to grab this right here, copy all of these notes. I'm going to come into my AI and I'm going to say, all right, here's a prompt for you. Then AI will do its thing. I'll fast forward through this in the video. Well, maybe an important point. Maybe an important point I forgot to mention. Even with the Markdown, we did give you the opportunity to have a template. And so there is a template that you can have, and maybe even if you wanted to post it in here, so your AI has something to work off of as well. All right, I will pause this and come back when the Markdown file is done. All right, I'm back. I've gone back and forth with AI a bit on this project. And so I've got the brief done where I want it from a Markdown standpoint. I'll come back to my Markdown page, select all, paste. I can preview this now just to make sure everything looks good. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to say it's approved. Oh, I need a title. Let's call it 2026 project business case. All right, approved, create, doom. There we go. All right, now I've got the brief created in my system. As you can see, it took all the Markdown, put the tables in, and perfectly aligned everything I wanted it to see. So again, does a really good job, as well as kind of getting us some numbers and everything we asked it to do. If there's sites, you can see that it has the links in here. And so we can look out at these different links as well to see where that went. And here's the cool thing. I can archive it, but I can also share it from a public link. And so I can take this and I can share it. And so then this will go out to somebody else and they can see it as well without having to have a login to Briefly. So let me really quickly pull up a Safari tab here, not a Chrome. I'll enter that. So I'm not logged in to this account at all. And you'll see that I've got a public view of this brief in the format that we built. So again, this is the public brief. We got a print-friendly version as well. And then people can read it, print it out, talk through it, do what they need to do with that brief. I wanted to show a way to also do this in HTML. So another way to do it that might give you a little bit more have images and different things to pull from is we can do an HTML version as well. So I'm going to download a template. I'm going to pull into my AI and I'm going to say, using this template, pull some images and the public assets folder and create a brief in HTML form. I'm going to copy that path, make sure it has the path, and then I'll go through with AI and produce from an HTML standpoint all the things that we did in the brief. So I'm going to go away for a second. I'll come back. I'll show you the final results of the HTML. Then we'll paste it back into the briefs dashboard. All right, so I'm back here on the cursor side of things, on my AI agents side of things. Done some editing, published this, so all my images are now up publicly at Artificially, so I'll be able to render those images when I put it in the preview. So all that is done. I've now got my HTML that I can now put into the brief. So I moved it to HTML, put it in here. I can now preview that so I can see what that might look like. And then when I'm ready, move it into approved Title again, business case, approved, and create. So now my full brief in HTML format is created with images pulled from the other system and file. Again, like this whole thing, you can do whatever you want. I mean, I think that's why I'm trying to make the brief as flexible as possible, whether you're using Markdown, HTML, or the template. The brief is where you have creativity, is where you're trying to sell the product, sell the vision. And so I wanted to give the ability, and I needed the ability to really make that as flexible as possible. And now that I have these briefs made, I can take the URL of that brief and I can come into the roadmap and I can say, okay, now I've got the brief made, pull this up, edit it, add the brief link, save the changes. And now I've got my brief and my Figma link that I can navigate to. And that is briefs. Let's take a look at meeting notes. I use meeting notes quite a bit. For me, a meeting note is where I kind of take what's needed from the meeting and put in here. It's not necessarily for me to look back on later. I don't really love AI note takers because in a lot of ways, note taking is for me to remember. And so if I was going to take a note on a meeting, I could add the title here, meeting 413. I can make that public or private. If I make it public, that means anybody on the project, client or teammate, can see it. If I make it private, only I can see it. I can also add attendees, so I can make it so only a few different people on the team see it. And so it's private to us. And I can also add roadmap cards to this as well. So let's just say this was a podcast meeting, looking at potential guest list, and then we can just save that. Meeting notes, again, it's a great place to keep meetings organized and then edit if you need to. But again, it'll all kind of fill out in the left side here. Very easy, very cool for anybody to kind of utilize and get in the project really quick. One thing I wanted to show that I love is like this little highlight feature. A lot of times in meetings, I love to highlight a few things to make sure I'm looking at them. And so the highlight feature is there. You also have the opportunity to do bullets, numbered lists, anything that you need to kind of make sense for this project. Change that in a numbered list. You can make that a header, bigger header, and so forth. Bold this. Again, pretty comprehensive from a WYSIWYG standpoint on how you can take those notes. Okay, that's meeting notes. And I think that's about it. I mean, the last thing on here is just basically the team structure and making sure you're inviting your guests. Thanks for spending some time with me on Briefly. I hope that was valuable, worth your time, and good luck on your next project, product, brief, collaboration. Go and create. Thanks.